Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. And we already have a caller online, but first let's welcome Michael. And today is our Memorial Day celebration 309. Hello, Michael.
Hi, sweetie, and welcome everybody to the show. We're delighted that you're with us, and we are blessed to have the opportunity to share with you the tools of forgiveness from the ancient Aramaic and everything else that we've discovered, and it fits with the Aramaic principles of forgiveness. Our invitation to you, as we do in every show, is an invitation to engage in putting an end to war. How are we going to put an end to war? It's simple. We're going to stop the reason for war. Well, come on, Michael. How could you possibly stop the reason for war? Well, here's how you do it. You recognize, first of all, what the cause of war is. And what is it? Well, in essence, the cause of war, I would offer, is denial. When I have something inside of me that I don't want to be responsible for, that I don't want to own, that I don't want to deal with, there's this trick the mind plays, and that is it denies ownership. And by denying ownership, it actually pretends that what's going on inside of one's own mind belongs to and is caused by someone else. What a fallacy. And, of course, when you believe that something that's going on inside of you is caused by someone else, what else is there to do but to make war? Whether that's a physical war, a mental war, an emotional war, a verbal war, whatever it happens to be. So we're here to put an end to that dynamic by inviting all of us to wake up to the game of responsibility and recognizing that what's going on inside of us is going on inside of us because it's there. And surprisingly enough and interestingly enough, there's a tool with which to remove whatever's in there that you wish weren't there. All the things you've been blaming other people for, what you've been feeling when you enter into a conversation that says, you made me, and then you're stuck in a state of denial. And so we're inviting you to move to a different state. And, Jeannie, you've got a call for us, so let's just go right to the phone.
Area code 810. You're on the air.
Thank you. Hi,
Hey,
Michael.
Ken, welcome to the show. Give us a name and where you're calling from.
Hi, Michael. This is Gail Grinke. I am Adam and Leah's mom, and I actually had called you on a Friday, and then Rex called you back with the question I had before. I wanted to give you a little update. First of all, I would like to thank you profusely for the worksheets, and I've religiously been doing 5 a day, and wow, what a difference. The two just scratched the surface, and the 5 is amazing. So I want to thank you so much for giving us this tool to help deal with situations and the reality inside of me. And I wanted to tell you that Adam is, because he's been doing the work, he's doing so much better. I'm really proud of him. His fiancée broke up with him, and he is having a difficult time because we were all doing this together. We were all going to Rex, and she pulled out of Rex and is going to a clairvoyant that she feels strongly about, and we feel really sad that she pulled out because it really, we were all hoping to heal together. And he's been coming from a really loving space and is dealing with this. I'm just really proud of him, and I want to thank you and I thank Rex because all these tools are really helpful, and I hope other people, we've been telling other people about it, and yeah, it's wonderful. So I want to thank you so very much.
Well, we appreciate you and say thank you for saying thank you, and we're delighted to be here to support you and your whole family. And, you know, there's nothing permanent about a decision that somebody makes that creates the kind of split that you're talking about, and who knows what the next step. You know, there's an old story about the fellow who's out in a western town, and his son is breaking horses, and the boy falls off the horse and breaks his leg. Everybody comes to just lament at how terrible it is that his son broke his leg. And a short time later, an insane war begins, and his son, because he has a broken leg, is not sent to war. And we just never know. And the story goes that we don't know that God gets through with it. So we'll hold the space that God isn't through with it yet, and that as it's going to be for everybody's highest and best, it will unfold. Is there any specific thought or question or anything that we can support you with today?
Well, I've had a hard time because she's moving 2 hours away, and I had a discussion with her Saturday night, and I'm so glad for the worksheets and for the work I've done with Rex, because I taught her. She was very, everything I said, she turned into something different than what I said yesterday, and she was yelling at me, and normally, I'll be honest, before I did all this work, I probably would have yelled back, and I stayed in a peaceful, loving space, and I know I would not have been in that space had I not done the work. And yes, I still feel very sad.
Well, and it sounds like she's in a lot of pain, and that's what people in pain do. And the most powerful thing you can offer to her at this point, aside from feedback on the tools, is the demonstration of the fact that the tools work and holding that space, because it is the exposure to love that processes people through their pain. So when the pain surfaces, if there's somebody in the space that can hold the active presence of love, that becomes the healer. I love Rumi, a 13th century mystic, and many, many sayings that he has, but one of them that I think is particularly poignant and powerful is that in the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. And so by holding that space, you're making her pain a medicine and opening the space for healing. And so instead of coming back to her with more of the same, which is probably the world that she's lived in previously, doing something different, there's got to be a part of her mind that's looking and going, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? Why isn't she going into the same rage I am? Why isn't she doing this? And that's, in the ancient teachings, to see someone who can do what oneself finds impossible is called the first coming of the Christ. It's an external event. We see somebody do it and go, wow, is that really possible? I can't even imagine doing that. And then it's only a matter of time. That builds brain cells, and it's only a matter of time before one experiences the second coming, which is the personal Christ, when they open up to being able to produce that exact same result. So the fact that your whole family is engaged and involved and holding the space will guarantee the best outcome possible.
Well, thanks, and I just trust that God's got a plan in this. So, and even after the 40 days, I've decided I'm staying with the 5 because it's pretty powerful. So, thanks again.
It is an amazing process, isn't it? And you know, there's a fellow that started doing one worksheet a day for 40 days. His first challenge from David, the center manager at Heartland, was for him to do one worksheet a day for 40 days, and after that he made up his commitment to 5, and after 2.5 years of doing 5, he called the show one day to let us know that he was getting such awesome results out of his 5 worksheets a day that he was moving to 10, and he'd been doing 5 a day for over 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
So it's pretty amazing to watch how it unfolds and how it happens, and so we hold the space, and anywhere along the way that we can be of support, that's what we'd be here for.
Well, thank you again. So your work is amazing.
Well, and I won't claim the work. I had this blessing of getting in touch with the direct words of the Aramaic Yeshua, and it's his work that I'm moving around the planet, not mine. So he's the one to thank. He's the one to thank, and I'm glad to be a vehicle for it, as I know Rex is.
Yes. So that's it.
Awesome.
I appreciate you letting me talk. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye. So, Jeannie, do we have any other callers? Anything happening in the chat room?
So how do you think I sounded?
Oh, you're still on the line.
Oh, okay.
You're still with us. Let me get Jeannie to just mute you off so you can carry on listening to the show. And you sounded awesome. You sounded awesome. Okay.
No, nobody else has their hand up, and everybody in the chat room is just listening. There's a whole group of people vote today on both the chat room and the switchboard, so that's phenomenal to have that many people tapped in.
Cool. Well, I wonder, I didn't think of it before the show. I wish I'd thought to call Michael and get him to call in and share his experience the other night that he called to share with us.
Well, while you're talking, I will see if I can text him.
Okay. If you do that, that would be fabulous. Maybe he'll jump on the phone and share with us. But for those who were tapped into the show about probably 2 months ago, we interviewed a young man named Michael who was former Navy SEAL. His specialty, if you saw the movie Act of Valor, he and his girlfriend went to that movie together, and the big challenge was holding to that space of love, maintaining a human life, because that's exactly the kind of work as a Navy SEAL that Michael used to do. And he shared with us about how he was on the show. There's actually, if you look back, I'm sure Jeannie's got his name on it, Michael Coughlin. And he shared how when he first came back from the Middle East and some of these operations, that wasn't too much that was exciting in his life, so he would go trolling. And trolling for him was he'd go into crack neighborhoods, not because he was interested in drugs, but because he was hoping that somebody would jump him to try to rob him, as happens often in crack neighborhoods, so that he could beat the hell out of them in order to get his fix, his adrenaline fix. So Michael's been doing this work now for about 15 months, and he called to share with us on Friday how he had what, in his cynical military mind, would have been insane, and anybody who would tell him that any such thing ever happened, he'd say, you are off to the loony bin. You are so crazy. But he called to share with us how he had a direct visitation and vision from the light, from the awesome presence of love, and was instructed as to what he was supposed to be doing. And guess what? It wasn't killing people anymore. Whole different game. So Michael's in Boca Raton, Florida, every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. He and Margaret do a Mind Shifter support group. And they're teaching the principles of forgiveness to people and supporting people in healing themselves and healing through their relationships and creating a space of healing for each other. So it's pretty awesome to watch 14 months when Michael, and I'm going to kind of stretch it out and give you a little more history with the hope that he'll call, because when you hear the excitement and enthusiasm in his voice. Now, this is a guy that's about 6'6". He was a military trainer, Navy SEAL trainer, and he's, probably one of the better ones at teaching people how to kill and killing. And the first workshop that he came to, we were doing a workshop at a home in Fort Lauderdale, and he came to that workshop with his girlfriend. His girlfriend particularly wanted to come. He's military mind, back from the military, and, looking for what he's going to do aside from troll crack neighborhoods for opportunities to beat up on people and get an adrenaline rush. And in that first workshop, he laughs when he tells us, he's told it several times since in workshops, he got up and walked out of the room. I'm talking about the insanity of war and how we create a world based in peace. And he literally got up and stormed out of the room. And at that point, because when I do an intensive like that, unless everybody's in the room, I don't proceed. So I follow him out to his car. And he describes how he's looking in his rearview mirror and sees me walk in. He's like, he can't be coming out to talk to me. Certainly this Ryce guy isn't stupid enough to come out and confront me. And so I went out and confronted him. What are you doing? You made a commitment to be here. Come on, let's head to, and a lot of process, a lot of stuff up in his face. And this man has just worked and worked and worked the forgiveness process for over a year now. And the change is awesome. We had someone who was at one of our workshops, and I'm not into much in the way of prophecy type things, but the prophecies of Nostradamus, someone who showed up at one of our workshops, probably about 3 years ago, and said that one of the quatrains in Nostradamus' prophecies was that the warriors would come to Heartland to heal. And, of course, if you talk to David, I don't know whether David's on the line or not, but David's former military, Vietnam, too many insane stories. And he's working with people with forgiveness. Michael Coughlin is former military, Navy SEAL, trained killer, training people to kill, expert at it. And he all of a sudden gets a full-blown light experience where he's told that his purpose is to begin to bring healing. So awesome. So awesome. So if that makes sense to you, cool. If some part of it doesn't make sense, and our tool of forgiveness, the invitation to put an end to war, is the invitation to reach inside yourself and remove what never belonged. And our offering, if you want to check out what a human life is, just hold a newborn child. Everybody has the same descriptors for a human life for the newborn, and that is that they are the awesome, active presence of love. And our offering is that's all that belongs in your physiology. If you have something else in there from your genetics or from your life experience, then forgiveness is about removing that. And if you're not sure just what that means or how that could possibly be done, we invite you to go to our website, whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. The first 8 links will give you the whole forgiveness process. It'll give you the worksheet, a written explanation, and then several radio shows. Each radio show with a different type of worksheet, a different set of issues, and a different way of moving through the worksheet. And so there's a personal set of instructions that you can just download those MP3s. They're free, and begin to work with the forgiveness process. It's called Reality Management on our website. It's how to Remove every reality in you that's based in any form of hostility or fear. Remove what never belonged, and you get a human life. And a human life has a purpose, and its purpose is to live as this awesome active presence of love. And so that's what we're here to support you in. And if you and I were in a room together and I just finished doing this presentation, you would very probably come over to me and say, Michael, what about this? And you'd have a question. Your question is everybody's question. The show thrives on people who have the courage to pick up the phone and call in, or if you're on the phone, push a 1. When you push 1, that will put you in a queue, and Jean will know that you want to talk to us. And so 646-200-4169. I would absolutely love to and be delighted to have your question. If you'd call us, we'd love to hear from you. If you have an issue that you're having challenges with, if you have an issue with how to do the worksheet process or any of the other tools, we've got about 40 different identified tools in this work. And so if you have a question about how to use any of the tools, there are worksheets that go with the codependence work. There's a commitment in the Healing Through Relationships workshop. There are 7 steps of responsibility communication. There's just worksheet after worksheet. How do you get inside yourself, and how do you delete what never belonged? We'd love to hear your sweet voice. We'd love to hear from you. And ask a question that opens a space for everyone who's listening to understand the work on still another level, still a deeper level. So, Jeannie, do we have any questions? Chat room? Call
We do have 2 callers. The first one is area code 517. You're on the air.
Hi, Jeannie and Michael. It's Mitzi.
Hey, Mitzi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My question is regarding resonance and how if you have something in your field of resonance, you can attract it to you, and if you don't, you can't.
Right.
I'm in a situation at work where there is litigation and a line in the sand has been drawn with a highly charged issue. And so I feel a little restricted on what I can say. But
notice what's happening with your breath as you say that?
Yes, I'm anxious.
Okay,
yes, I feel anxious. Your anxiety is reflecting your resonance in the situation. Okay.
And so the best way I know to get to the root of that anxiety is to go through the forgiveness process to look at what's underneath that holding back of the breath and the anxiety that's there.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
So taking a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, yeah.
I've certainly done a lot of reality management worksheets around this topic and this issue. My specific question is that last week a woman came in to offer support and brought food and flowers, and there's like a love train happening where lots of people are bringing food and support. And this particular woman said, I hope that when you guys are alone or you're here at night, you're locking the door because there's a lot of rage in the community. And frankly, it never occurred to me to lock the door when I'm alone, or even ever, the thought never crossed my mind that I should. And yet there are a lot of people who think perhaps we should. And so my question is, like, can a group override an individual's law of resonance? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I've been accused of being naive and trusting, blah blah blah, looking through life through rose-colored glasses. And there's a part of me that wants to be responsible, and yet it's not really doesn't resonate as truth to me. But it does for a lot of other people.
So in my worksheet then in that case would be around all the times in my life when I've been accused. I'd start there. So when it comes to accusation and this lawsuit thing, is that tie into being accused? And so maybe some worksheets around the issue of being accused might be whether it's being accused of being an innocent or, or whatever's going on. Then
Michael?
Yes.
What I hear her asking, though, is that these people believe that she's in danger, and she doesn't. Can they override, can their belief be stronger than her belief and bring danger to her?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jeannie. And thank you, Michael. I will certainly do some worksheets on being accused. And, yes, that was more specifically my question, Jeannie. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear your question, but more than just hearing your question, and, we'll get to talking about resonance, but more important for me at this point would be tapping into what it is that's locking down your energy system at this moment. That's your most important piece of work as opposed to a piece of intellectual understanding about a principle of resonance.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Yes, I hear you.
So I join you in knowing. I would join you in knowing, and I know all those newborn babies that you've held, and you know that pure innocence and that pure presence of love. I would join you in knowing that you are purely innocent, whatever anybody has to say. And you are that pure being and that pure innocence. And that when something shows up that causes your breath to restrict and lock down, it may be something resonating that hasn't even come from your lifetime. When you recognize the ancient Aramaic physics language is a genetic language, and when they said things like the sins of the fathers will pass down to 3 and 4 generations, that resonance can come from generations ago. Though you don't hold it in thought or in conscious awareness, that resonance can still come. I personally would tend to forgive. That's why I suggested working with the forgiveness around being accused. And then I'd start to look at, what part of me, why have I drawn this in? Is this to alert me about something I should be alerted to? Or is this to simply put me into a deeper state of fear? If I find myself going into fear, then there's my next piece of work, is not only being accused, but fear around what would happen if I'm accused. And, we live in an energetic world, and I think that Job gave us an awesome lesson many, many centuries ago when he said, that which I feared most has come upon me. And can a group of people create a resonance within someone who has any spark of that in them? Yes. They can activate. If I hold a middle C tuning fork in front of another middle C tuning fork, there's going to be an exchange of energy. The fact that you hold your breath as you start to address this issue, for me, says that there is some resonance there for you. And I'd clear that out as my first order of business. And then is there some fear that they have that has a resonance for you? Then I'd be working on clearing out the fear. And, there's an old saying in the desert that says, trust in Allah and tie your camel. And so as opposed to, one of the things I do when I get in the car, and I've done this for decades, the first thing I get in the car, if you watch me get in the car, and I'm just moving the car across the parking lot, the first thing I do is put a seatbelt on. Now, I think a lot of people put a seatbelt on out of fear, and they're going to tend to create what they're fearing. For me, every time I put my seatbelt on, what goes through my mind is, this is my commitment to safety. That's all. This is my commitment to safety. This is my commitment to security. I don't need to be in fear to pay attention to the things around me. And so if you have a concern, then I would be taking that as a signal for within myself of, I have a concern that while I'm pretty clean on this, these people's resonance could impact what's happening here. Now, if you go into the fear and you buy it, then you're going to strengthen it and tend to attract it. But the alternative to that is, okay, well, I'll hear that. And, as I lock the door every time I go in or out, I make this my commitment to safety. Instead of, oh, my God, there's something to be terrified of out there. And perhaps some public discourse in the community to unfold what's going on and what kind of gossip is happening that would create this kind of rage.
But part of the challenge, Michael, it's Rex. Hi, everybody. Is the HEPA laws.
Yeah.
Again?
Well, one side of the story is being told, the other side isn't, because we're bound by HIPAA laws to not speak, and so there's, a lot of one-sided information being shared at this point. But, I hear what you're saying regarding doing my work on being accused, because that did feel resonant in me. And we're a public business. I won't be locking the door, but I will commit to safety and be cautious and what have you. So.
Yeah, and you can be bound by the HIPAA laws, but at the same time, perhaps some public discourse in general terms about the way that you do business and the way you work with people and the space that you hold.
Yes, there has been a lot of that also, and it just triggers, what it feels like is support, a huge outpouring of support on one side, and then, the other side speaks their truth. There was an article, a press release on the State Journal, the paper, on the front page, and so then it just triggered a lot of conversation, and people don't seem to be neutral in this topic. It's either, one side or the other, and it's just creating a lot of conflict in this personal world of mine, the work world, and people are speaking their truth, but also, as you know, people hear what they want to hear. So.
Absolutely. Well, all listening happens between one's ears, and perhaps the thing to do is to call a meeting to invite these people that have some grievances to air, and hold the space, and again, without violating the privacy laws, perhaps being able to speak of the way that you do business in general terms that gives people a space to air their thoughts and grievances and to come to resolution with them. Because oftentimes these kinds of things are the things that grow in darkness.
Yes. And grief and fear, yes.
Yeah, people in pain, as our first caller said, the young lady who she's interacting with, who just broke up with her son, yells and rages. Why? The only reason anybody ever yells and rages is because they're in a lot of trauma and pain, a lot of terror. And the space of love is what dissolves that terror and clears it out.
Right. Okay, thank you. That was helpful. I'll continue to do my inner work, and
that was a nice breath. That's the kind of breath that lets the energy go. That one you just took.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
We got the sense of the energy, and we are absolutely here 1,000% to hold the space. And I know the integrity that you have, and the love and the care and the concern and the support that you have for people. And so we're here to reinforce that and to strengthen it and add energy to that resonance.
Thank you.
All right, we cherish you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, Michael,
hey,
I have something. How you doing, buddy? We're out walking.
Hey, I'm
in the
good.
woods.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I wanted to mention the previous caller had mentioned that even though she had finished the 40 days, she had decided to continue, and that has been my experience as well. So it's just a matter of, for right now, it's a permanent thing, 5 a day. So I would encourage anyone who really wants to transform and change their lives and support the planet healing. It's to do the inner work. It's pretty amazing and exciting, and I'm committed, and I'm excited about others that are also committed to the work, because the faster and the more we do is the easier it gets for everyone.
Well, I mean, it's exciting to watch all of the places where it's being seeded, and there are people popping up who are creating that space of support and that kind of energy. You might remember from Creative Health Institute, Ken and Jeanette Hudon-Jorgensen.
Yes. Yep.
You remember them? Well,
yeah.
Jeanette is out in Sandy, Utah, and she's started digging in and doing her 5 worksheets a day. Now, she'd been kind of around but away from the work for almost 20 years. She's now doing 2 support groups a week.
Wow.
That's how much she's getting out of it. So, it's just awesome to see all the places that it's opening up. And you've got some classes coming up. Your support group, I saw your email, and you got one on a Tuesday night and one on a Wednesday?
Yeah, we're on. I just did a talk at the Coptic Center, which went really well. Got a really good reception down in Grand Rapids last night, and then I'm doing on the 10th is our support group, and then I am doing healing through relationships on the 14th, Saturday the 14th.
So anybody that's in Lansing, Michigan, can go to your website, Still Point Breath of Life, and tap into the schedule for Rex's classes and support groups. And one of the thoughts I had is that if you're going to do, an every other week kind of thing, that you might want to tie it to a single night rather than two different nights. Because what I've found in the past when I did that sort of thing was I found that people go, well, let's see, is it Wednesday this week or is it Tuesday? Or is it Thursday or is it I don't remember. To heck with it, I'm not going to do it. Whereas if you're regular as clockwork, the first and third Wednesday of every month, that's what we do. And, or the second and fourth Tuesday, or whatever it is, that consistency helps people once it's planted in their minds. I know when I was in South Florida and really building this work in Fort Lauderdale for about 7 years, every week for 52 weeks a year, I did a Course in Miracles and Mind Shifter support group evening every Wednesday night. And, we probably put in that 7-8 year period, we probably had 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people go through that Course in Miracles class. We would have classes with, once people got to know that it was happening and they could reliably remember and reliably let their friends know, we would have upwards of 125, 150 people a night who'd show up wanting to learn the tools and, wanting to heal.
Well, what I've done, Michael, is I definitely considered that rather than doing it on a Wednesday each time. The reason I didn't is because there were some people could make it on Wednesday, some people couldn't. And so they were giving up their own, what they were doing, and they were regulars and very committed to the work. So I just allowed that to be on a Tuesday because it gave a different day, so that they could actually come when they couldn't come on the other one. So I did consider that. It's good input, and I agree, and I'll give it some more consideration. Definitely, and that's exactly what I'm doing with the Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. I've committed to do it at the last Saturday of every month. So it's we've gone through 2 cycles now, and now we're on a 3rd cycle.
Very cool.
And the wind's starting to pick up at the woods, and you may have other people calling, so I'm going to put it back on mute, Michael. We love you and appreciate all your input and great feedback for Mitzi as well.
All right, we'll have a blessed one in Holden Space at Lansing, Michigan. Go join Rex for the Healing Circle. Mind Shifter Support Group. Blessings, Rex. Take care. You're too busy.
We do have another caller, area code 607. You're on the air.
Hey, Michael, it's Richard.
Hey, young man, how do you be?
Well, I'm just calling because I had a huge breakthrough this morning, and I was at work and had been doing a lot of worksheets and releasing and stuff like that. And I actually came to a point this morning where I had this, I don't know how to describe it other than this warmth feeling coming from my gut, spreading throughout my body. It's something I don't remember the last time I experienced that. So it was definitely a breakthrough in the energy for me. And
sounds like human life, human energy showing up in another part of your energy field where it's been blocked previously, and that's always pretty awesome.
So that was pretty awesome, and then, of course, then I came home, and then I was like, obviously, you want to stay in that state. You want to be able to keep recreating that, And then some issues came up for me, and then, one of the things that came up for me was a feeling of rejection regarding some stuff happening in my life, and then I realized I was getting into this because of the trauma experiences I've had. I realized I was starting to feel a lot of that trauma in my life, and I was, been trying to do worksheets around that, let that go, because I realize now that, all that pain and stuff is, I'm the one that's creating it when my thoughts about rejection and stuff like that is just drawing up all this old stuff. So basically it came down to the reason I'm calling is because of, people who've had a lot of trauma. It's a lot more difficult to come. Well, I'm assuming it's more difficult. I'm just pointing out that I feel like I'm struggling with it because of the trauma that's been in my life. Because I'm trying to let go of the feelings, and they keep wanting to reappear rather than just letting them go. So that's the reason I'm calling. Is how do you deal with people who've had very traumatic issues in their lives around the worksheets?
Well, there's always the rule of the 3 Ps: practice, practice, practice. There's work to be done, and an analogy that I came up with recently is most people have spent a number of years learning how to operate computers, and they've got thousands of hours in learning how to make their Mac or their IBM system work on Windows. And then all of a sudden an error message comes up. And I've seen myself spend 10, 20 hours on the Internet trying to understand that error message and how to clean it out of there. And this is, an operating system that's been in development by some of the best programmers in the world for 50 years. And still, I don't care who you are, the best of the best, still oftentimes will come across a bug in the system that takes a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of effort to clean out. And that's in an operating system that's only 50 years old and that has had some of the best programmers going. You look at the Windows folks and the awesome brains that there are working in those systems. Just some amazing people in the Apple world. And still, it can take hours to work through a single issue. When you recognize that you have an operating system that's been in development for thousands of generations, and some of the worst programmers that ever existed had input into your operating system. This operating system that runs a body-mind unit is 100 trillion times as complex as the most complex man-made computer. And though they say we live on the shoulders of giants, that's true, but when the stress is up and the chips are down, we're controlled by the smallest mind in our past. And if that mind was based in trauma and hostility and fear, then what comes up and runs the system, and it's basically an error message when hostility or fear comes up, what comes up and runs the system is the smallest mind of the whole bloodline. And it comes in with its rage, its grief, its pain, its hatred, its vengeance, its, just bizarre behaviors. And it says and makes the demand, this is what we've got to do. And so what I hear you saying is, how do we get through the challenge of that level of intensity of issue? And, if we were in intensive, you know well that I would turn to the all we ever talk about.
I'm not hearing you.
Well, I don't know what happened. I'm still here.
Okay, well, you started to talk about going to the blackboard at the intensive, and that's the last I heard.
Yeah, you disappeared for just a few minutes.
Oh, I don't know what happened, but anyway. So what I was saying is that in the intensive, I would turn and write on the board all of the above. Because everything we talk about, we've got over 300 hours of archive shows. We've got 15 different 2-hour DVDs, a 4-hour DVD, 5 different 5-hour or 4-hour CDs, and every one of those is about addressing the how-to of working through those deeply embedded and most difficult issues. It takes commitment, it takes work, it takes putting one foot in front of the other, and continuing to do one's work when the intensity becomes so much that you want to give up the fight and say, forget it, I don't want to do this. There's a great indicator in the book of Job that kind of tells us how intense the process can get once you put your hand to the plow and you choose to do your healing work. And what happens to me indicates the intensity of the process for Job. And basically the book of Job is just a story about someone in a healing process. Is Job says, God, I need an intermission. Just give me an intermission. And you get some sense of the intensity of his process by the intermission he asked for. He says, just give me time to swallow my saliva. So I hear you. I understand the intensity. I've been there, done that. And you put one foot in front of the other, and you do your next worksheet. You do your next, whether it's a codependence worksheet or you look in the mirror and you make a commitment to yourself once again. You engage in the higher energy, and you keep forgiving the lower. And sometimes it can come to the point where you feel so utterly alone that it seems impossible to do. And that's just a stage, that's just a phase that one goes through in doing the work of healing. So I'm offering you, you're right on track, and we still don't have a confirmation from Ari, but we'll just put the thought out, and I'll see if I can catch up with him again today and see if we've got a date set. But we're looking at the first 2 weeks or so of July for kind of an economy program at Heartland called Food, Fun, Forgiveness, and Work, where we'll do some work projects. And Ari's got some awesome new recipes, and we'll be doing food. We'll be doing some playtime as well as, of course, forgiveness and still point breathing. So I'll look forward to you being there, and we'll absolutely support you in taking all of this to the next level. And then in teachers training, a little later on into July, we'll see it just moving totally and completely through and an issue that you can be finished with.
Cool.
Awesome, sir. Anything else we can do to support you?
No, I just wanted to, I was realizing that, hey, I had this wonderful breakthrough today, and then this, I guess in some respects, one way to look at it is in order to perceive something, you have to feel, you oftentimes have to experience the opposite side of it as well. So the fact that I experienced this great loving feeling in my gut, now I'm also experiencing the other aspect of it as well at this point. And just have to bear through it and say, hey, you wanted this, and you've been wanting to have this happen in your life, and so I again want to thank the worksheets because they've been the valuable tool for me to get there. And again, want to thank you very much for those worksheets.
Delighted, and thank you for saying thank you. And remember that, you can't go to a deeper level in dealing with any kind of trauma that you hold than you have a height of vitality. And so your new flow of energy through your body, that warmth, says, here I am at a new level of vitality. What does the dissociated mind say? Hey, remember that old stuff we hid away 20 years ago when we dropped down our level of vitality so we wouldn't have to look at it? Well, there he is. He's at a new level. We can pull that stuff up now, and up it comes. So that's the awesome and wonderful part of the healing process. And to me, the whole purpose of the work, and in terms of my own life, is the pursuit of how do I get to the next level of vitality to peel up the next layer so I can go through it. And it's not Dr. Feelgood, but once you have the learning and you have the brain cells for, it's not Dr. Feelgood, but it's how I let go of the load I carry, then, of course, those healing crises become desirable. So you're right on track.
Say, I wanted to mention, when talking about the food, fun, work, and Ari coming down and doing his workshop on natural foods, and have you had a chance to look at that movie, Hungry for Change?
No, I have not looked at it, and I haven't gotten the chance. I did get the drawings from you for the bamboo growing process, and we've had so much going on. We just finished a 3-day intensive, and up until last Monday in the previous, I think it was 42 days, we did 38 different presentations and workshops. So we're just off of finishing a 3-day intensive last night, and this afternoon Jeannie and I this morning Jeannie and I were working on, and after the show we'll be going back to a food order for the intensive that starts on Friday over in Palm Coast. So we're pretty locked into all the balls we need to juggle to make it all happen, to keep it all rocking. So, but I will get there.
Just wanted to put a plug in for that thing on Hungry for Change, the movie, because if you watch it, you'll get lots of people want to come to your Ari's thing to learn how to cook from natural foods. So
right.
Just a plug for that movie. It's a real incentive to come. It's just another reason why I want to come do that workshop, because I want to learn how to cook that way for myself. So. And
right.
regarding
and,
regarding my bamboo structures for greenhouses, I mean, certainly I would love to talk to you more about the possibility of building one for you while I'm there. So we need to talk about that.
Cool.
As well at some point. All right.
Right. And the film that Richard's talking about is called Hungry for Change, and actually, I did click the link that you sent me, and the showing of it had expired, and they just had, facilities for ordering the DVD, which I didn't do at that moment. I will look into doing it. I don't know if it's available on Netflix or if it's available through Amazon to stream or anything like that. But anybody who wants to see a powerful film about some of what's going on in our culture and some of the changes that need to take place, you might want to take a look at Hungry for Change.
Yeah, they can just Google it. I'm sure they can get a link to it somehow that way. All right.
Awesome, Richard. We appreciate you. Okay, bye. Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and we have two more callers.
Oh, awesome. Let's go for it.
First one is area code 954. I believe we've gotten an A.
Oh,
hello.
Nay, we have not heard your sweet voice in a while. It's good to hear from you.
Hi, my heart family. Thank you. I've been busy around this time of the day, but I'm still doing a lot of the work. And this coming Wednesday again is a Latin support group. It's all in Spanish, and it's becoming very strong. Last week we had 10 people attending.
Awesome! Congratulations.
Yeah, and very, very nice. They're very willing to learn, and the energy that it's created in that group, it's very powerful. So this week it's responsible communication. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, what I do is
Do you have the worksheet, the responsibility communication worksheet translated into Spanish?
Yes.
Cool. I don't know if we got a copy of it on the website.
I think I sent it last year, but I can check and resend it.
Yeah, we have a whole page of almost every worksheet in Spanish. So.
Awesome. So anybody that's in the Spanish community, go to www.whyagain.com, and then there's a link up at the top right, if I remember correctly, for the Spanish edition. And the name of the Spanish website, I know we've got it there, is Danae? What is the name in Spanish? I'm not that, my Spanish is not good.
¿Por qué otra vez?
Porqueotravez.com.
Yep.
So you can download the worksheets and join Danae in learning and teaching in Spanish. That's fabulous, Danae. Thank you for your support in that regard.
Yeah, so what I do is a small review at the very beginning of the principle of the forgiveness, the core teaching, the core tool, forgiveness, and then I go into the subject, and it goes very well. And then on the 14th, I'm going to have the Mind Shifters in Spanish. The same group, they wanted to do the Mind Shifters in Spanish. So I'm very, looking forward to that, because that is going to create really a shift in their consciousness, and of course in Latin community and in the in Latin energies and the way we see things, the collective unconsciousness.
Well, that's awesome that you're doing that, and any support we can be, we're happy to be there. If anybody's in Fort Lauderdale, where exactly is are the events happening?
It is in Coral Springs, Florida.
Okay.
And the address is 10966 Northwest 8th Court, and that's Coral Springs, Florida, 333071. And we usually start at 7:30 until 9:30 or so because, we allow people. I have people coming from the north and other people coming from Aventura. So, to get there at 7 is a little tight. So we get 7 after 10, after 7, 15 after 7. We start at 7:30.
Right. Awesome.
And it's working very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to be down there in a few weeks. Maybe we can come and listen in on one of the Spanish support groups.
Sure, that would be awesome. And also, and also I've been working with one of a friend, and she came to my workshop. She came to your lectures also, and she's becoming more and more. And we worked last week some issues about that she goes to a store, to Costco, for instance, a store, and there she compulsively wants to buy this and this and that. So we did a couple worksheets like 2 weeks ago, and then last night we worked together. And in a worksheet, in the object of attention was that her brother would go to Florida and he would not come and visit her. And in doing this worksheet, what it really came out was that the sense of rejection that she had, because she could remember when she was 3 years old, and her aunt has given her her purse, like, hold my purse for a moment. And for some reason she dropped the purse, and they lost the purse. Somebody came and was very fast and took the purse with the money the aunt had inside. And she felt so guilty and so self-rejected that it created the rejection within the family, and also that compulsiveness of spending, because she felt guilty that because of she couldn't hold the purse, whatever, somebody came and stole her aunt's purse.
Right.
So.
Well, there are a few good worksheets on guilt and losing control and being trustworthy and letting people down. There are a number of different worksheets around that one.
Yep. But it was amazing because she would, she said, "No, I'm triggered in my pain and this because my brother is going to Florida and he's not coming to visit." And I said, "Okay, let's go, let's do this." And underneath, that's the unconscious. So for me, it was enlightening even more to see how unconscious. So that's why, like you say, when we are in any hostility and fear, we're just dealing with our own stuff. That's it.
It's a bummer, isn't it? I guess it's kind of the good news and the bad news. I love how the Course in Miracles says. It says you take the only thing that you don't want to do, you put the thing that you don't want to deal with in the only place you'll get to deal with it forever, and then you pretend it's outside of you. And if it were outside of you, you'd really be in trouble. Fortunately, we have the tool of forgiveness. You can just drill down into it and get rid of it. So thank you for facilitating that with folks. That's powerful and awesome. And our show is coming to a closure point. Check out our website for Nene's support group in Coral Springs and the classes she's got coming up. Rex up in Michigan. We're on the other coast of Florida starting Friday with 2 back-to-back 9-day residential intensives in Jacksonville, and we'll be back off to Missouri to do our summer season at Heartland. So have the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio.